All right, good morning, everyone. Hi, guys. Good morning to everyone who has joined this live streaming. I just want to be sure that you guys are hearing me. You guys just can comment below if you're watching on YouTube or if you're streaming directly. You can just comment below if you are hearing me clearly. I don't want to start if you guys are not hearing me. You can just comment below if you are hearing me clearly. We're gonna jump right into it to sharing some opportunities with you guys. All right, awesome. And to all the persons who are viewing, whether it's on YouTube or I think we're also streaming on Facebook. If you're hearing me clearly, let me know if you're hearing us. All right, awesome. All right, guys. So we're just going to jump right into it and to share these opportunities with you guys, specifically as it relates to the intern and trainee program in the US, and more specifically the hospitality based industry. So, guys, we have organized this live streaming just to share, the different opportunities for you as a hospitality worker in Jamaica. And if you're joining us from another country, welcome. We're just going to do our best to share all these opportunities for you to understand and to know more about the intern and training program, how the program works from the moment you apply to the moment you arrive in the US. So we're going to do our very best to share all the information as best as possible to our knowledge and to ensure that you guys are on the right path, in terms of the knowledge to make a decision to participate in the program. All right, guys. So I want you guys to stay with us and just get the information that you really need and to make the right choice for the hospitality program in the US. All right, guys. So stay tuned.
The Hospitality and Culinary Program falls under the Department of State J1 Exchange Business Visa Programs, specifically under the Intern and Trainee category. The basic requirements for the program are to be at least 18 years of age and have 5 or more years of experience in the industry. And if you have a post-secondary certificate, you just need 1 year of experience. Also, if you have just finished your post-secondary studies, like less than 12 months ago, you are eligible to apply for the program. When you participate in this program, you get the opportunity to travel and experience the United States culture while expanding your knowledge about the hospitality and culinary industry. To participate in this program, you must have a designated visa sponsor that will provide the necessary documents to obtain your J1 visa. At ISIS Jamaica, we have partnered with many designated visa sponsors to help you obtain your appropriate visa. We have host companies across the United States, from the big hotel chains and resorts to fine dining restaurants. All positions have very attractive base pay. If you do not want to participate for 18 months, that's fine. You can apply for 6 months. And if you're enjoying your program, you are welcome to extend your time while you're in the United States. In fact, it's cheaper to start with 6 months, then you can extend your time when you have enough savings to do so while in the US. The departure dates for the program is ongoing, therefore you can leave at any time during the year once you have obtained your J1 visa. Are you worried about the process? No problem. At ISIS Jamaica, you pay nothing towards your program fee until you have met with your sponsor and employed to confirm your visa sponsorship or job placement process. We at ISIS Jamaica will guide you through the entire administrative process from Jamaica until you've arrived in the United States. Now, are you ready for the adventure? What are you waiting for? Contact our recruitment team for more info or to get started today.
All right, awesome. So you guys get a little, a brief introduction in terms of with regards to the hospitality program. So you guys would have an understanding how what program is and how it works. And we're just going to dive a little deeper in all the nitty-gritty of the program. So of course, with us, we're joined by one of our partner organization, IEE, that's International Education Exchanges. And we work with them for the work and travel and also for the intern and training program. So they're with us today to share their breadth of and depth of experience about the intern and training program. I have Patty with us.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Hi, Adian.
Hi, buddy. Thanks for joining us this morning. And I have Susan with the IEE team as well. She has some knowledge about the industry and she have worked with J1 participants before. And she is quite, equipped with all the knowledge about the ins and outs of the program itself. Hi, Susan. How are you? Let me unmute Susan. I think, Susan, you're muted if you want to unmute your mic.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Hi, Susan. How are you? Morning.
Good morning.
All right, awesome. So, guys, we have Susan and we have Patty here to share all the information regarding the program. Any questions you guys have, we can have them answered. All right, so we have here also Miss Crooks from the recruitment team at ISAS Jamaica.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
All right, morning, Miss Crooks. Welcome. So we're gonna jump right into it, guys. And I'll be your moderator. I'm Adrian Charlton, and I'm in charge of placement and all the international affairs with all the partners. All right. So once more, guys, just some housekeeping matters. If you guys want to comment or to ask any questions, it's always best to use YouTube because you can comment there on our YouTube page. And I was told that you can also comment on the link that was sent via SMS, or you can, I think we're streaming also on Facebook. So if you have any questions or if you want clarity on anything, just comment below and we'll try our best to answer all the questions you have regarding the intern and training program. All right, so pretty much you guys will now know the eligibility of the program, what it is to be qualified as an intern or a trainee, what it takes to participate in the program. And so you guys know the basics of the program. So we're just going to jump right into the finer details of the program. So just an overview. So we're going to start with an overview. Of course, you guys know that ISAS Jamaica, we partner with a designated sponsor that assists you guys in getting your work-related documents, for example, your DS 2019, and everything that you need to obtain your J1 visa, right? So without the designated sponsor, it's not possible to participate in the intern and training program, right? You must be sponsored by a designated entity, right? And you have quite a few organizations, and we have one of our favorites, which is IEE with us this morning. They, of course, sponsor our work and travel program. So we have placed persons with them last year and also this year. And we're looking forward to giving you the opportunity to go on this program, on the intern and training program specifically. All right, so and you guys would have sent us resume to vet and to see if you're qualified, and then we'll then transfer the resume to our partner based on our assessment, and they will then check to see if you're indeed qualified and if we have a suitable placement for you, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Patty from IEE just to give us an overview of the assessment process of the resume that we sent, or that we're going to send for you guys, and what do they look for specifically, what details must be on your resume, but sometimes you guys are missing some very important details that will allow us to either confirm that you're eligible for the program or confirm that you're not eligible. So you need to ensure that your resume has all the information required for the assessment. So Patty will just give an overview of how they assess the resume and what they look for in resumes, and how is it that, based on the information you provide, will allow them to make a decision if you're qualified or not. So Patty, do you want to give us insight on that?
I'd love to. That's great. And thank you for asking us to be here with you today. I think this is a very exciting opportunity to teach everybody about this program. So we'll start first with the resumes. Understanding that your resume is really telling us about yourself. We need to know as much about yourself as we possibly can. So we'd like to see you address your date of birth. We'd like to see your email address on there as well. We'd like to see the education that you have, where you're studying, the dates that you are attending university, if you are still enrolled in university and still studying. We'd like to see on there the date that you started your university and your expected graduation date. If you've already graduated, then we'd love to see the graduation date. We'd love for you to accompany your resume with your diploma. You need to put on there as well what your degree is in, if it's hospitality management, if it's tourism, culinary, whatever it is that your degree is in. We also like for you to be very detailed on the job experiences that you've had. Understanding that this program is also going to give you a lot of work experience and cultural experiences in the U.S. We do still want to be able to see any kind of work experience that you've had back in Jamaica or your home country, wherever you are at this time. So you would need to put the employer's name on there, the dates that you have been at that job, your job title, what you're doing there, and anything else that you would like for us to know about your capabilities within that job. So basically, this resume is going to tell us almost everything we need to know about you. And once we get that and we can see that we have a qualified applicant with us, then the next steps would be to set up a Skype interview with you so that we can have a personal one-on-one interview conversation with you. Do you think I've covered enough on that?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Patty. So, guys, you just need to ensure that you have all those information on your resume so that we can make the best decision. Because most times, persons may leave off a job that you've worked before, and that could have helped to add to the experience that you have. And then we may have made the wrong decision to deem you not qualified when you're indeed qualified. So, ensure that you have all the jobs that you've worked before that's applicable to this industry, and your contact details. Just ensure that we can contact you in some way, shape, or form, right? And ensure you have a Skype account, because that's the means that we use to do video chats for the sponsor to get to know you, face to face, and just to ensure that you're the best match for the different positions they're going to place you at. So that's rather important, guys, in terms of the documents that you need to submit. I mean, there are other documents that we'll discuss, but the resume is the most important document that we receive firsthand to welcome you in the program. You have contracts, etc., to sign, and we'll get into that shortly. All right. So thank you so much, Patty, for that information. So we mentioned about resume, and we now know about the program and how the program works. One of the most frequently asked questions from our clients would be regarding job placements, like what are the different jobs in the US? I know Susan has worked with J1 students before in the industry, and she will give an insight of the different positions that you can work in, for example, food and beverage, waitress, different, So from a HR point of view, could you perhaps give us an insight on the different positions that the hotels look for J1 participants to place them at? Susan, would you be able to do that?
Yes, absolutely. So hotels are huge. There's so many opportunities, within food and beverage. You could do front of the house positions, which are positions such as servers or servers assistants, or even a hostess that kind of greets customers as they're coming in, guests as they're walking in. Or you could have positions that are considered heart of the house, which is the back of the house that don't get seen by the customer. So those could be anything from, helping to cook a little bit, or maybe do some prep work, slicing vegetables and that sort of thing, or even helping from the dish pit area and making sure that everything gets cleaned up appropriately. So that's, several positions just within food and beverage. There's also within hotels, there's recreation departments, and some have kids programs, and you could work outside or you could work inside. Of course, there's the rooms division that has some front office, and which is like the front desk where you check in, versus the housekeeping, which is the back end of the rooms division. But obviously those two departments communicate tremendously a lot every day. So that way, the rooms are clean before guests get checked in. And so there's certainly a lot of different opportunities within hotels. Same thing with country clubs. If you get placed at a country club, they also have dining rooms and food and beverage service, and so same positions there as well, servers and server assistants out front, and then the same positions in the heart of the house. So a lot of opportunities in various organizations.
All right, awesome. So you guys have heard that we have different positions available, and depending on where you are in the industry, we can find a match in the area that you are working in currently, and you also get the opportunity to have a feel of different areas in the at a hotel, different departments, as Susan mentioned before. So you will get that opportunity to have an experience in every area of the industry, because of course that's what you are in the US to do, which is to get the opportunity to learn and explore more, in your field of study, or what you have studied before, or what you have experienced in. All right, so I'm going to welcome Ms. Crooks to basically give, because our recruitment team here in Jamaica, we, of course, receive tons of resumes, right? And most times persons might send their resume to us, and may delay the process of fixing your resume, because sometimes you guys leave off some very important stuff. And again, guys, I know we have about over 100 persons here actually watching us live. Again, guys, for the ones who just joined us, just you can leave questions below, you can comment below, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions you have. And we have our sponsors here from IEE. They'll be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns you guys have. Just post it below, and we'll try to scroll through and answer all the questions you guys have. I know you guys are very eager about the program, and we think it's very important you guys get this information, to have this session where we share the details about the program, so you get it from the source, as opposed to secondhand information. All right, so I'm going to welcome Ms. Crooks just to come and share details about our recruitment process, sending us documents. We have sent links for you guys to upload documents to, your resumes to, how important it is to, send us documents on time, so that we can, based on your desired depart date, we can work assiduously towards that to have you guys depart at that time. All right, so I'm going to welcome Ms. from the recruitment team at ISATS, and then we're going to go right back to the sponsors regarding finer details about the program and arrival in the US. We're going to talk about tax filing, etc. So stay tuned, guys. I'm going to welcome Ms. Crooks for now.
Hi, everyone. Good morning again. Thanks so much for joining this hospitality session so you guys can learn more about the program, know what you're getting into. It's a really it's a very good program. We have sent persons on the program before, and they're enjoying their experience. So I know you guys will definitely get the same experience as them in terms of having a good time on the program and learning more about the hospitality program that you have experience in Jamaica. So like Aidan said, what I'm going to talk about today is really more so the registration process for the program. We already talked about the requirements. However, if you do have personal questions, like Aidan said, you can always leave that in the chat and we will address them after. All right. Now, as it relates to the registration process, the initial, what would I say? Like, to get started, of course, you would have to send your resume to us. Now, we have received a ton of resumes and we're still going through them. So if it is that you have not received a response from our team just yet, we're getting there. It's just that we've received a lot. And as Patty said, it's important that you mention those details on your resume in terms of employment date, your degree date, the list of experiences, your duties, etc. And so far, going through some of the resumes, I'm seeing where some of you guys, you do have experience in the industry. I'm seeing a whole list of hotel chains that you have worked from Grand Palladium to Decameron, you name it. However, there's no date attached. So I can't really, if you do have 5 years work experience in the hospitality industry, or, you know, probably 3 or more, I can't tell, because you guys are leaving off some of the dates. So it's important that you do mention the date that you have worked per hotel, and that would include the month and the year. If you don't remember the exact date in the month, that's completely okay, but at least the month and the year needs to be stated, okay? Now, as it relates to resume again, so we would check the resumes to see that you're qualified for the program, and then we would invite you in our office to start the registration process. So that would include going through our terms and conditions, so you understand the company's policy, how the program works from the initial stage to the very end of the administrative process. We would also assist you in applying for the program, because we do have a registration portal. That's where you would, of course, state all your details, name, address, your emergency contact, and all of that. So you would indeed have that done in office as well. And we would also scan all your documents. So some persons, you would have received the email from me already to come in office to get your documents scanned. If it is that you're able to scan them on your own, and you know it's a bit hard to come in Kingston to get that done, that's completely fine. But at the same time, I do understand that some persons may not, you know, have access to a scanner, or they don't really understand how to scan their documents properly. So we do that in office. So the 3 main steps to the registration process, like I said, would be the terms and conditions consultation, which is mandatory. Once you're doing or applying for a program with ISAS Jamaica, you have to do the terms and conditions consultation. And then we would assist you with the application on our registration portal, and we would scan your documents. Apart from those 3, you would do a small screening interview with us as well. It's usually around 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, just to get you to know you a bit more, and as it relates to your experiences, of course. And we also check to see that your level of English is at least intermediate. It's important for you to, you know, speak proper English, especially for this program, because you're going to another country. So we do assess for little things like that as well. So of course, once you have completed these steps, like I mentioned, then you would move on to Mr. Charlton. Like he said before, he assists with the placement or communicate with our overseas sponsor, which is IEE, to get you placed in a position based on your level of experience. So that's pretty much it for the registration process. It's a guided process. So there's no way you'll be left confused as to what to do, or you don't know what documents you need. We outline everything to you from the start to the finish. And of course, just before you depart, as in leaving Jamaica, we do have a pre-departure orientation to give you more information as it relates to adapting to US culture, you know, how to open a US account, how to get your social security number, and all of that. So like I said, it can be a little lengthy process, but we guide you every single step of the way. All right, so that's pretty much it for the registration process. I don't think I left out anything, but of course, if you do have questions, you can leave them in the chat.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Crooks, for that insight on the entire recruitment process while you're in Jamaica. Right, guys? Remember, there are different steps to this process. And at this stage now, many of you would be at a stage where you are submitting resumes and trying to qualify yourself for the program, right? I know some persons just joined us. We're now over 100 persons who are viewing us. For persons who haven't received any details about this workshop, just let me do a little bit of briefing. So we're discussing the intern and trainee program once more, and we have our sponsors here from IEE who will be providing some details regarding the intern and training program, specifically in the hospitality field. and we're going to be discussing some very important topics. We're going to be discussing in the event that you're changing an employer, extending your program while in the US. We're going to talk about taxes. I know many persons ask if you file your taxes. We're going to discuss that as well. We're going to talk about J2 visa. We've gotten some questions about some persons who are interested in that visa for dependent. And we're going to talk about emergency procedures, like in the event anything should happen. Of course, you must know your point of contact in the US, etc. So we're going to discuss, and additionally, as I mentioned before, extending programs. So I know many of you may want to start with 12 months, but you're interested in 18 months. So that option is available, and we're going to discuss the procedure in doing so while you're in the US. All right, guys, once more, you can post all your questions down the chat below, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. All right. Guys, so welcome back. So as I mentioned before, we'll be discussing the terms and condition, changing employers. So let us know, among other stuff. So let us know, jump into the first aspect. So I know you guys are considering the program at this time, and some of you may have sent your resume already, and are now in the process of arranging an interview with the sponsor, etc. Bear in mind, which is most important, you must read the terms and conditions of both the sponsor and also of us, the agency. Or terms and conditions on our main website. You can always go to our main page and you'll see a tab that says policy. Just go ahead and read that. And also for IEE, we have sent some persons some contracts. When you're signing your contracts, you will see the terms of the program, etc., etc., etc. So ensure that you read it, and in the event of anything, you would know that the terms are laid out, etc., of the program. There are the restrictions on the program while they're in the US. Some persons mentioned about second job options. The program, there are some restrictions in terms of second job options. Your host or primary employer must be your only employer while you're in the US, and any other or alternative jobs will not be legal. You're legal in the US to work with the host employer who is on your DS form, right? So that's one thing that you guys should bear in mind of those restrictions. And I know Paddy will, state some more restrictions in the program when we reach that point. All right, so I'm going to welcome Paddy once more from IEE. Based on this section where we're talking about overseas aspects of the program. So we have a question, Paddy, from one of our viewers, that what if in the event somebody is not okay with the employer that they're placed with initially, is it possible for us to change that employer and have them work for another organization while they're in the US, or it will disturb or affect the entire program?
Okay, and that's a very good question. So what we like to do between your agency there in Jamaica and ours is make sure that you have as much information about the host organization that you will be with during your time in the United States before you get here. We want to make sure that you understand the location, where you're going, the terms of the training opportunity or internship opportunity you've been given. So we want to make sure that it's a good fit all the way around before you even get here. But things do happen. There could be things that occur. You may get somewhere and realize that that really is not the type of city you would like to be in. That there's issues maybe with the host organization. Maybe they're not following the training plan. Maybe you're not following the training plan. There are certain things that can change while you're on the program. Our initial responses, it's not as easy as you think to change your host organization once you get here. There have to be very, very specific reasons why you want to change. And it can't be because your friend went to another city, but they didn't have an opportunity for you. So you thought you'd take this opportunity until you got there and say, maybe you could change when you got to the United States. So that's not a reason to make a change from a host organization. Everybody has put in a lot of time and effort, including yourselves, to make the decision to come to the United States and to choose the location you want to have this opportunity with and the host organization. So to just come and decide that you don't want to be where you are and you want to change a host organization, it's not, like I said before, it's not that easy. There have to be very, very legitimate, specific reasons why it's not working at that location for you. And we are there to help you. We do want to make sure that you understand this is your program, but you do have a responsibility on the program as well to make sure that you're making the right decisions before you even come.
Awesome. So guys, it's not an easy 1, 2, 3. Oh, I just want to change because I want to change the employer. You must have a valid reason, you know, and it must be a qualifying valid reason for you to want to switch the employer. It shouldn't be just a personal preference, because you've signed the job offer while you're in Jamaica and you have read all the conditions of the job, where you're going to live, the pay rate, etc. And I know many of you, well, for the ones who receive a job offer, you would have researched the company. You guys Google map companies and to see what it is like there. So again, try to do your try to assess your job offer before, you know, arriving in the US and just want to change for no valid or qualifying reason, you know. The next question, probably someone is asking is, so the program is for preferably 12 months, right, or a year, but persons can participate for 6 months, and while they're in the US, we can arrange for an extension to be done for them to stay up to 18 months maximum, right? Do they have to return to Jamaica to extend the program, or it can be done while they're in the US? And what's the process in doing so?
Okay, so that's also a very good question. So the intern and training programs, for the maximum amount of time on an internship, that is if you're still in university or you've just graduated and want to come do this program within a year of your graduation, that particular program is only a 12-month program. So you can have the opportunity to come for 6 months and then decide to extend the program. You do not have to return back to Jamaica to do that. So we would just extend your DS 2019 form while you're here. However, if you are on a 6-month program and extend to a 12-month program, and for some reason you have to go back to Jamaica for an emergency after you've done your extension, that at that point you will have to go back to the embassy to get a new visa, because your visa is only going to be for 6 months because you originally came in on a 6-month program. But if you do not leave Jamaica, do not have to leave the United States to go back to Jamaica for any particular reason during your extension period, you don't have to worry about getting an extension on your visa. You're fine to stay here. We'll just go do an extension on your DS 2019 form. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you can extend at the same host organization that you originally signed on for, or we can transfer you to another host organization if you want to try to get a different experience in a different type of hotel in a different city. The management training program is the one that is available for up to 18 months. And you can start off on the management training program for 12 months, but it has to be a management training program for you to extend. You have to already be in that program. So that's a little bit of confusion that some people might have between the training and internship program. But to be on the 18-month program, even if you're extending into it, you have to be on a management training program to begin with in the program. So you won't be able to be on an internship and decide that you want to stay for 18 months. It is an actual management training program.
Understood. So I hope that clarifies some stuff that you guys were asking in the comment section. Typically for the intern and training process, someone is asking about timeline. Usually, based on our experience at IEE, it's like chop, 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 chop. It's really fast with IEE, right? So if you want to explain how quick you guys move to them to say once you submit that, your resume, you're qualified, and you arrange an interview with the host employer, and they're okay, and they're saying that you're welcome to work with them. Guys, there's no delay, right? So you need to ensure that you move as quick as Patty. Otherwise, they might reassign the job to someone else who is moving faster than you. So if Patty, you want to kind of shed some light on how quickly IEE move and how important it is for the applicants also to move in terms of submitting documents, signing contracts, and how it affects your pipeline. If you want to share a little bit more detail on that.
Absolutely. So he's very correct in that we like to try to get people placed as fast and quickly as we can. So one of the things that we will discuss with you in our interview that we have as your visa sponsor is your availability and your timeline. So we're assuming that by the time you get to us, you understand the process, you've accepted everything, you understand what it's going to be involved in, everything, you're ready to do this program, and we're ready to place you. So one of the things we will ask you in our interview is when you will be available. So if you tell us that you won't be available for 6 months, then we plan on that. But we still like to have you go ahead and get all of your application documents in. If we interview you and we get you a job placement and you have an offer and acceptance, we're basing all of our processing on the offer and acceptance and the dates that are in that offer that you've received from your host organization. And that's the timeline that we're going to be working on, and we try very, very hard to meet those deadlines. So we need to make sure that you're ready, that you're getting your documentation in on time, that you read and sign your offer letter and understand the conditions of it, understand your start date. We understand that things happen, but we're hoping that you're really at that point that when you sign that job offer, you're accepting that start date, because that's going to be our target to try to get you to the United States, to get you to the U.S. Embassy in Jamaica on time. There are delays sometimes at the embassy making an appointment. So we do try to get you there a few weeks, if not even a month, before you're supposed to come to the United States, so that if anything should happen or any delays happen, we still are able to meet that arrival time. You need to keep in mind that when a host organization does give you an offer letter, they are putting a date on that, and they've stopped recruiting for that position because they've hired you. So you need to be ready to be able to fill that position when they're there. So that's why we make sure our paperwork is done quickly and on time and efficiently, so that we can make sure that you get to the United States in a timely manner.
And if I want to add, IEE has been in business for almost over 10 years, right, Patty?
Actually, it's been about 22 years.
Exactly. So they know exactly what they're talking about. What I'm going to do actually is to welcome Susan, just to talk a little bit more about the, she would have interacted with some J1s before, and she shed some light on, how valuable J1s are to employers. Most of them would have, travel to the US during peak seasons. Summer season is where peak season, and the value that employers have and the experience that J1s can get while they're working, the connection that they can develop with different workers that are there, people at the hotel, like guests at the hotel, just the experience that these J1 students can expect when they arrive in the US and working with a specific employer.
Yes, happy to share. Yes, the employers here love their J1s. They are one big family, and they love learning about you and your culture and what you can bring. And you'd be amazed at all the questions that you'll get asked from the guests. They want to learn more about you and your background and how you got to the USA, and they just love building those connections with each of you. Now, from a business standpoint, when it comes to operating the hotels, having, hotels, it's the travel industry, so when you have international folks that are there working with you, they help speak to the whole necessity of travel and why so many people love it so much. And it's great because not only do you build solid connections with your guests, but it really helps from, when you're operating, having those strong connections helps guest service scores. It helps the relationship building. It helps those customers come back, more than once and become returning customers, which ultimately, lends to the bottom line. Now, also the skill set that you bring and the passion that you bring, because a lot of times, not everyone is as fortunate as you being able to come over and learn about American business and how things are operated here, and they're operating differently than in your home country. And so, it's really cool learning tool for you to learn more about the industry that you're so passionate about and that you've worked in or that you've studied in. And I think I've spoken already to the business end of the value that it brings when you have just the multicultural staffing in each department, whether it's front office or food and beverage or recreation, all of those various areas. And when you're in those departments, you get to rotate through several different positions, and you're learning not just fine dining skills, but you're learning casual dining, and you may learn some culinary prep tips and how the whole process of from the time a guest comes into the restaurant to the time they leave, that whole process of the things that you've learned in a book or in a textbook, and you're actually applying those in real world and seeing them happen in real time, and learning different software and just different technologies that help every industry. So it's really cool from the employer standpoint and from the student standpoint, the trainee, the intern standpoint. So it's beneficial for both equally, both partners equally.
Thank you so much, Susan. Yeah. So in terms of the cultural benefit, you guys can interact with different cultures in the US, because not only Jamaicans participate in this program, but you have participants from different parts of the world that participate in these programs on a yearly basis, and you will get that connection. You network with persons part of your industry, because you might have people from Thailand, different countries, they come, and that interaction, you share your Jamaican culture with them, whilst they share their culture with you as well, so that learning component is very important, that that you will develop while you're on the program. So thank you so much, Susan, for that insight. So as you mentioned before, guys, I know some persons might be just joining us. We're discussing the intern and trainee program, specifically the hospitality industry, as related to the hospitality industry, and we're sharing just some insight, what you guys should know about the program. And again, if you have any questions or any concerns, you can always post in the comment section, and we'll be more than happy to answer all the questions you guys have. So someone is asking about which may I realize that trend of that question. The J1 program, it's not an H2B program, and it's two different class visas, and it's two different type of program or initiative by Department of State. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Patty, because most people might have a misunderstanding or a misconception about the H2B program, which is primarily for employers who are, short staff, and they're resorting to foreign labors to help, fill that gap for short staff. And the J1 program is not necessarily filling a gap. It's more so the experience or the exchange component that is very important, right? So it's not a H2B program where it's welcoming to everybody. Once the employer is okay and they need to fill that gap with some, during peak season, right? So the J1 program is absolutely different from that. It is it's more of educational, cultural, hence why we kind of press the cultural aspect, the educational aspect. We check a qualification to see if it match, the industry, because you must have 5 years or more of experience in the industry, or if you have a degree plus the 1 year, or if you just completed your studies and they're within 12 months of graduation. So it's not an H2B program. H2B program is more so, it's more open, quote unquote open to most adults, and I don't think there's a written in stone prerequisite. So it's not like you have to be in the hospitality industry. It's really open, and I know Patty may have some knowledge to the H2B program, just to differentiate both programs. Patty, if you want to shed some light on that.
Absolutely. And when you come to the United States and work in the hospitality industry, you're most likely going to be at a property that probably will host H2B visa workers and J1s. The biggest difference is the H2B program is a work visa. It's set up for that very purpose to be a work visa. All different positions are involved in this type of visa: culinary, front office, typically maybe not a lot of front office, but food and beverage, stewarding, housekeeping, landscaping, these type of positions. The J1 training and internship program is significantly different in that it is not to be considered a work visa. Even though you do get paid while you're doing this, you're basically being paid to train and to learn more about your industry. So it's not about how many hours you can get or how many different jobs you can get. As was previously discussed, you're only allowed to be with one host organization on this visa type. It's not about how many hours you can get, but it's about the type of training and the quality of the training that you're getting while you're in the United States on this program. So when you're on this particular program, there are restrictions as far as the qualifications and being in the hospitality industry, either as your current profession or what you're studying in school. But the biggest thing that you're going to notice too is you're going to have an actual training plan in place. It's going to be on paper. You're going to sign this training plan. The host organization is going to sign this training plan, and us as your visa sponsor is going to sign this training plan, so that everybody agrees on the type of training and learning experience you're going to have while you're in the United States. You're agreeing that this is what you're going to learn. The host organization is agreeing that this is what they're going to teach you. And us as the visa sponsor is there to support both entities to make sure that you're getting the training and the learning experience you're supposed to have. So when you're looking at both programs, and you may be considering both programs, you need to really decide exactly what it is that you're coming here for. If you're really coming to enhance your skills and your professional background and really get some technical learning ability while you're here, the J1 program is what you're going to want to do. If your biggest interest is just to come here and work, and you really don't care what position it is that you have, you want to work and maybe get as many hours as you possibly can get, then you might want to consider the H2B program. But the J1 program is specifically lined and geared and developed not only to give you some really valuable training while you're here, but also the cultural aspect of it, which is why we don't want you to work 100 hours a week while you're here. We want you to be able to learn a little more about the U.S. culture. We want you to share your culture with us. So it will be restrictive of as the number of hours that you would be scheduled while you're on your training program, but they are very, very different. And it's a good question.
All right, awesome. And we have a question here. I've seen it repeated so many times in the chat. Do you get pay and what will the pay? I know that so that's relating to pay. So what I can do say is different employees will have different compensation or different hourly pay. But Paddy can just tell you a brief, range like what most of the interns or trainees may be compensated on the program.
Yeah, so and he's right. Different parts of the country have different living expenses, so there will be different rates of pay. You may take a look at some of the opportunities and go, "Wow, look in California, I'm going to make $18 an hour," but guess what? Your housing is going to be very, very expensive there. So it's very, very relative. We need to look at everything before you make a decision on that. The hourly rate typically, depending on the position, obviously food and beverage service positions in the United States are typically tipped positions. So you get a lower hourly rate because you typically get tipped about 20% of the ticket that you present to the client. That's an average amount. So, it's going to vary what you're going to make depending on how busy the property is as well. Anywhere from, I would say, in a culinary position between $10 to $15 an hour, maybe more, depending on where you are and your experience level. But again, you are going to have expenses associated with these programs, like your living accommodations and things like that. So again, be real careful when you look at your rate of pay and get all excited that you might be making $18 or $19 an hour, because your housing might be a lot more expensive than somewhere else. So it maybe have a lower rate on that. But again, this is a paid learning experience, but the goal here is not to come here and make as much money as you possibly can. The goal here is come here and learn as much as you possibly can on this program.
Awesome. So again, the learning component is more important than just the pay, even though some persons might, save a lot, but at the same time, the most important reason why you are on the program is to develop the skills you need, because you're in the industry and you want to somewhat allow your resume to be international. You have went to the US before and you have worked at this hotel before, and you have developed all these skills. And when you return to Jamaica, and if you're going to work in the industry, you can share those skills with your folks here in Jamaica. All right, so that will now lead us to our next question, Patty, which is in relation to housing. If someone is asking if all the jobs come with housing options or a solution. Patty, if you want to answer that question.
Sure. Now, not every host organization is going to have housing arranged for you. Typically, our organization really focuses on working with host organizations that do have housing provided for you. It's very difficult sometimes to come to the United States and you've never been here before and try to find your own housing. So if we do have a host organization that we work with that does not provide housing on a long-term basis, they will provide accommodations for 2 weeks to maybe up to a month, so that you can find housing while you're there. And they do help. They will give you lists of apartment complexes and things like that. If we do run it with a host organization that does not provide the housing, then we try to make sure that we have 2 or 3 people going to that same host organization property so that you can share in the expenses of your accommodation. But typically, we work with host organizations that already have that lined up.
Awesome. So most of the jobs that IE would have had, there are most times there are housing arrangements already made, because they prioritize those jobs mainly, so that you don't have to spend time researching housing options, etc., etc., etc. But the job offer will outline if housing is provided or if it's not provided. And based on what I've seen, most of the jobs that or applicants have, housing arrangement is there. So let me just try to scroll through these questions. And so we spoke about housing, and we spoke about changing employer, and we spoke about extending the program. And one thing that we want to add is the tax filing, right? So many of you would express that, as what would have been customary for the J1 work and travel students, they will file their taxes during the season, actually, we're in January and you receive your W-2. Um, uh, is it the same for the J1 intern and trainee? Pat, if you want to answer the question.
Yes, it is the same. So at the end of every calendar year, you will be provided from your host organization what's called a W-2 form. And that's going to show all the taxes that you paid throughout the year while you're here, both federal and state. And you're able to file to get those taxes back. Most cases, our J1 participants that come over, they generally will get all of their taxes that were taken out of their check back. It really depends on how much you're paid. Throughout your program here, but typically speaking, any of the taxes that you see taken out of your paycheck, federal and state, you can apply to get those back once you receive your W-2 at the end of the year. We have had people come over on the work and travel program and they leave in September and they're calling me October 1st going, where's my W-2 form? Because they think that they're not working anymore, they should get that W-2 and be able to file for their taxes. But we only issue the W-2s once a year, and that's in January. After the close of the previous year in January, you get your W-2 and then you can file for your taxes.
Awesome. So I think that was answered very clearly. So guys, when you're in the US, you'll be paying your taxes, but you are entitled to file those taxes back. Whether or not you're in the US or if you're in Jamaica, you can file them, and have them deposited to your account. To your US-based account, or if it's by check, that you have different solutions, and we here at ISAS, we can provide guidance where tax filing is concerned. So I guess we have one more question right here. Let me just scroll through. So we talked about H2B and the J1 difference with this program, and many person ask about pay rate, etc. And one common question that is asked by almost most people who call our office quite frequently, they're going to ask, is this a guarantee? Is this a must? Is this something that is like, is it a surety? So I understand that most people want to relax their mind, mentally, because people know about J1 visa, and also people know about visa denials, etc., etc., etc. So what I can do share is that based on our experience with the J1 class visa, we have noticed a trend of high visa approval rate for J1 class visas, right? Even though there are persons who may have been denied a J1 visa, and it is somewhat situational, right? It depends on your situation, because everybody's situation is different. You might be approved the visa, somebody else might not be approved the visa, and both of you might have the same situation, and it's all left in the hands of the consulate, during your interview. So it's really contingent to your situation, because again, everybody's situation is different. Even though you guys are qualified for the program, again, everybody is different in terms of their situation. But based on our experience with our J1 participants, we have noticed a very high approval rate for the J1 visa. However, there are cases where persons may be denied the visa, and again, it is situational. So it depends on their case why their visa would have been denied, and it's not so much the program reason; it's more so a situational reason why they will be denied their visa. And I'm not sure if you want to add to that in terms of visa denial. And we at ISATS, and also we try our best to ensure that all your documents are in your folder. Your DS 2019, it comes on time. IEE always send the DS on time, and we communicate embassy dates so that they can send your package in time for your embassy interview. Insurance cover note or cover letter, sorry. So everything will be in your folder that is required for you to get your visa. So if you're not approved the visa, it will be somewhat situational. So we ensure we have a checklist of everything that you need to have in your folder for your embassy interview. You know, civis confirmation payment, your DS 2019 insurance, and your passport size photograph, you know, and every other supporting documents. You know, so ensure all of that are in your folder. But again, as I mentioned before, the decision is left to the consulate at the embassy, and it is situational, you know. Right,
And
but
situational, you're very correct, because there's a lot of things that happen in a very short amount of time that you'll be sitting in your interview with that consular. And it sometimes you may think that if you get a visa denied, you'll think, well, he or she didn't even speak to me for more than 2 minutes. How can they come to that determination? Well, they've been doing this a lot, and they see a lot of people all the time, and a lot of things that they're looking for. And this is just really familiarize yourself with the host organization you're going to. Understand your training plan, because they're typically asked something about your training plan. What are you going to be doing while you're over there? What are you going to be learning? Why are you going there? And the consular officer also needs to feel very confident that you're going to return back to Jamaica after your program's over. If for any reason anything is discussed during that interview that would lead them to believe that you're not going to return back to Jamaica at the end of your program, that would be a reason for them to deny the visa. So they very well may ask you, and trust me, if they ask you a question, they generally already know the answer. So be very truthful in what you tell the consulate officer. If he says, do you have family in the United States? And let's say you do. Let's say you have an aunt or an uncle or a mother or brother or sister on the H-2B program or whatever. They probably already know that when they ask that question to you. So be sure you let them know. A lot of people are scared to answer that question because they're afraid that if they say yes, then they're going to think, well, they've got family in the U.S., they're not going to come back to Jamaica. And, you know, that's not necessarily true. But if you lie to them about it and they know that you already have family in the U.S., then you're definitely going to probably get that visa denied. But the main thing that they want to know is what you're going to be doing on your program. Who is your visa sponsor? That would be us. That would not be your agency in Jamaica. You need to know the difference between your agency and your sponsor. And where you're going. I mean, they may say, where is your location? And you might get nervous and say you're going to Florida when you're really going to South Carolina. So that's alarming to the officer as well. So just make sure you understand your program, know where you're going, convince them that you are coming back. They may say, why are you doing this program? I'm going over to get more experience in my professional field so that I could come back to Jamaica and get, you know, a better opportunity when I come back and teach other people about the culture of the United States and give them an opportunity to go over as well. So it is very much about how you present yourself as well when you go before that consular officer. Just don't be nervous and know your facts and your information, and make sure that they know you're going to come back to Jamaica when you finish your program.
Yeah, because that is the ultimate goal of the interviewer, just to know that you don't have permanent intentions in the US, and that you know that when your DS 2019 or the date that you expect to return to Jamaica, that you'll return on that time, and you don't, you know, have intentions to overstay your visa, or you're welcome to the US. So I know that many of you may have you know, an issue where that is concerned. It's okay. It's always honesty is the best policy. Just be honest in your application. If you have a family member in the US, just be honest with that, because again, as Patty mentioned, that most cases they know the answer to the questions that they're asking, right? So always be honest in your visa application. So that's your DS-160, and the information must match what you present in your interview, right? So you don't want to say that your mother is not in the US when they ask on the application if you have any family, immediate relatives in the US, and you put no, and in the interview you're saying, oh yes, I have a brother in the US. So the information there is not matching, and it seems they don't know what to believe. Should I believe the interview, or should I believe this 160 application? And that would have been a red flag to them, because mixed match of information. All right. So I hope that clarifies some stuff to persons who are viewing us live on YouTube, and also the direct link, and on Facebook, I think. So as I mentioned before, we're discussing the intern and trainee program, and we have our partners here. One of our partner here from IEE, that's International Education Exchanges, just for the persons who are just joining us. And we're discussing the, again, as I mentioned, the internal training program, specifically as it relates to the hospitality industry. I know many of you want this experience, and before that experience, we're going to provide all the information that you guys need before applying to the program. All right. And the, so we touch on visa, we touch on the process, really, how important documents are when you submit them. We're going to jump right back to Susan as it relates to culture. You know, most of you guys, the viewers, you guys are not so much, you don't know what to expect, while you're in the US. You think that people will view you because you're J1, different than others, I'm not sure if Susan wants, shed some light in terms of how, just to confirm that the J1 participants will be viewed just the same as a regular employee, and you'll not be treated any different, you're there working for a short duration, and your status as a J1 doesn't really determine how an employer may treat you, etc. Because most employers value cultural differences within the workspace, and you'll be just seen as a regular worker, as a regular U.S. citizen, really.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. You're one of us when you're here. So you're more defined by the position or the department that you're working in at the time. And so it's a collective. And certainly in the hotel and hospitality industry, you definitely can't do things in teams of one. You definitely need a team of people to get the job done, regardless of the department, if it's front office or banquets or restaurants, any of that. So, yeah, and the cultural, lots of cultural things. We celebrate everything here in the U.S. So everything from, even little National Jelly Bean Day all the way to Jamaican Independence Day in August. That was always one of my favorite days when I worked in the hotel, because all of our Jamaican workers would come in and start cooking at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they would take over the employee cafeteria that day. And we would have Jamaican cuisine and have our Jamaican flags and Jamaican music playing. And it was always just a fun day in the hotel. So, and we try to do that, certainly at different hotels that if they have a large population, let's say if there's a lot of Filipinos or a lot of Jamaicans or a lot of Indians, if there's a big group, then they'll certainly, want to celebrate the heritage there and make sure that we're educating the rest of the employees there on different holidays and different traditions and things that you bring, with you. So it's a fun environment, definitely, to work in.
Awesome. Susan, if you want to touch on, because in Jamaica, most workers in the industry may be accustomed to a fixed base or a fixed monthly or bi-weekly pay. I know it's a little bit different in terms of in the US, because it's mainly hourly, so you clock in, you clock out, it's a hourly system, and most people get paid per hour. If you want to shed some light on that culture, hourly pay culture in the
Sure.
US.
Yeah, so a full-time work week is considered 40 hours, and if you work more than 40 hours in that work week, you get typically, most companies will pay time and a half, and of course different states have different laws on that, but generally it's time and a half, which is your hourly rate plus half of your hourly rate. So for any hour that goes over and above that in that work week. And yeah, it's based on your hourly rate times the amount of hours that you're working in each week. And you know, hotels everywhere are seasonal. So some weeks are going to be way busier than other weeks. And so there will be many times that you work a lot of hours, a lot of weeks in a row, and then you'll get a break. And you may have a week or two of kind of a slowdown period where you get to catch your breath. And, you know, you might drop down to 32 hours or, you know, 35 hours or something like that. But, you know, certainly in the busier times, and when you're here for 12 months, you get to kind of experience all of that. You'll, you know, seeing holidays, and if it's busier around specific holidays, you know, if it's a summer location versus a winter location, and the times of year that it gets busier, that's all going to kind of determine how many hours you're actually working each week. And so, yeah, I mean, you have to budget for yourself. The majority of companies pay biweekly. Some of them might pay monthly, and some of them might, you know, pay more frequently, like weekly. But generally, the majority of the companies do pay biweekly. So what you get paid is what you have to live on for the next, you know, 2 weeks until your next paycheck. So you get to learn, you know, how to budget, and you know, you'll have to learn how much things cost in America versus, you know, in Jamaica. Things are going to cost different, and you're going to, you know, there you may find different things that you like here that might not be available back home. And so, you know, you just have to learn how to budget for yourself. And certainly if you're used to someone else buying all of the necessities, the toilet paper, the toothpaste, and paper towels and paper plates, and any of the things that you use at home. If you're used to someone else purchasing those items for you right now, that's going to be something that you're going to be responsible for when you live here. And so you do have to learn how to, you know, budget for yourself, and how much it takes to live realistically, you know, 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah, I mentioned some very important stuff there, Susan, about budgeting. And I know many of them, Susan, here, uh, quite frankly, you know, everywhere is a different culture in terms of, you know, different countries, they have different cultural practices, etc. Specifically, Jamaican culture in terms of tipping, it may not be so common in Jamaica, you know, quite frankly. I know in the US, I've been to the US many times, is that tipping is almost mandatory, you know. So many people are saying, hey, I'm getting this per hour for my pay, just tip. But many of them might say, oh, it's just tip. It might not be a lot. It's probably just one tip for the entire week. But Susan, if you want to, you know, share some, of course, your hands-on experience in terms of the tipping culture, and that most times it's almost, you know, your values, it's almost mandatory to tip. You know, that's the culture there. So to get tip, it's almost, you know, important for a waitress or a waiter, you know. So if you want to explain the tipping culture there, and persons can expect more based on their expectation for tipping in the US.
Sure. I know that we do here at IEE, we do have some information that we do provide to the candidates that gives them a little bit more instruction on, you know, different percentages to expect to tip for various things, such as, let's say you arrive to a hotel, a bellman greets you, they carry your luggage up to your room. Would you tip that person in Jamaica? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, you tell me, is that something that you would normally tip for?
I would, but I'm not sure if it's if it's
Yeah.
if it's a culture here. But
Yeah.
maybe not. Some persons may not or see it as important, but
Sure.
perhaps I would.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that we would tip for here. Also, housekeepers even get tips. So a lot of times, you know, if you go to a hotel and you stay for, you know, the weekend, or you go for a week, and they're in there, and they, you know, turn your bed down for you, they pick up the dirty towels for you, you know, a couple times throughout the week, and or maybe even daily service at the end when people check out of their hotel rooms here. it's common to leave, $5, $10, even $20, just on the desk for the housekeeper. And, they love that. Housekeepers, they don't get it every time, but it does happen, pretty regularly for housekeeping. But in terms of, services that are provided, if you have someone that is providing you with a service that you would normally have to do for yourself, such as bring drinks to your table or bring food to your table, take your order, and you get to go and sit, enjoy, and then get to leave, that's typically definitely something that you would want to tip for. Average tips are going to be based on the first total on your bill. So sometimes you might have a discount or a coupon or something like that that may reduce the total amount of your bill. But when you think about in terms of tipping, generally it's going to be between 15 to 20% of the bill total. So, if the bill's $100, anywhere from $15 to $20 would be what would be expected, what the server would be expecting to receive in a tip form from that specific table, from that check. So same thing for if you go to a bar and you're sitting at the bar and the bartender makes a drink for you, typically $1 or $2, per drink is pretty standard. So depends on, how much work goes into it. If they got to mix up a lot of things to make a drink for you versus just, pour a beer out of a tap, then kind of depends. So anytime someone's doing a service or helping you in that capacity, that's typically when Americans like to tip.
Awesome. So, guys, we have been discussing some very, very, very important details about the hospitality program, and of course, we have our sponsors here, and we're almost, moving to the last segment of this webinar, and the next segment will be discussing perhaps J2 visas. Many of you asked that question about dependents while you're in the US. What's the process like, and if it's possible, if it's not possible. Dependents meaning your spouse or your child, or if you have more than one of your children, if they can join you while in the US on a J2 visa, and emergency details also, in the event of any emergency while you're in the US, who's your first point of contact, what's the process like from there. So we're going to just take a quick, about a 15 or 25 seconds break. All right, guys, so stay tuned and wait for those details to come to learn more about the J2 aspect, dependence, and the emergency aspect. And then we're just going to close off with a few questions that we have. All right, guys.
My name is Alice Ibukal. I am a first-year student at Charlton Teachers College.
My name is Shelly Gordon, and I attend the University of the West Indies Mona campus.
I came about ISATs via the ministry website where they have all the list of approved agencies. And the reason I chose them was because of their close distance from where I live.
Okay, so when I was at school, one of my friends signed up for the Camp Counselors program, and he went to an orientation. And then he told me that ISATs had a work and travel program, and that it seemed to be very good. So I looked up ISATs on Instagram and I saw that they were registered with the Ministry of Labor. So that was a plus for me.
Okay, for registration, the process was pretty simple. It was done online, very time efficient. So therefore, you don't have to be back and forth. You just go ahead and register online.
The registration process was pretty simple. I went on their website and it was really a hassle because there were a lot of ads, there weren't a lot of other things popping up. It went straight to the point and you could get what you were doing finished in a quick amount of time.
And I sat to my friends and also other persons outside of Shorty Teachers College because all of the members here are very supportive. They know their stuff and they also push to the max to ensure that you are successful at the end.
The staff here is pretty friendly. They know their stuff. They take care of you. They make sure that everything is done and everything is done on time. And that is one of the most important parts of signing up for these programs because it has a time frame that you have to adhere to. So they would ensure that everything is done properly.
For the staff though, they are very supportive. If you have any questions, they're always there to share a point or to guide you through the process.
Before this, I didn't know anything about the United States. I knew that it was a different culture, but I wasn't sure of the extent of it. So when I went to the pre-departure orientation, they showed me the different rights and what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and how to operate in a different environment and different culture. So it kind of opened my eyes to see what I'm actually doing.
The pre-departure orientation was very educating. The process was about informing you of your do's and don'ts, your rights as a J1, and also just to give you a little first-hand experience of what to expect when you go home.
I will be working at the club at Ivy's, and I'll be working in the golf shop there, the retail shop, and this is in Florida.
I will be working at West End, that is Hilton Head Islands, South Carolina. I'll be a floor attendant, will be pool attendant rather, will be helping out around the pool.
Thank you, ISATs. My visa was approved, and I can't wait to start my next adventure overseas.
Thank you, ISAT. I'm looking forward for a memorable moment this summer. Thank you.
All right, guys. So we're back. All right, guys. I think the previous testimonial were for work and travel. They went with the same sponsor that we're talking with now, which is IEE. So they placed them, I think it was last year, on the work and travel program. Again, the work and travel program is mainly for students, and the intern and trainee program are for graduates that we're focusing on now, and persons with 5 years of experience in industry, or if you have a degree, you just need 1 year of experience with the degree. All right, so we're going to jump into the other half of this webinar, and again, we're discussing the hospitality program, and I know many of you would have had like 5 years for the most part, or if you have a degree, and the 1 year, you're thinking about the program now, you're the process or the pipeline with us or sponsor, and they just want a bit of, a little bit more information about the program. And then so that is why we're providing this webinar, so you can get all the details about the program. All right, so we'll discuss about terms and conditions. We'll talk about changing employer. We spoke about extending the program. We spoke about earning on the program. We talk about tipping, hourly pay, tax filing, etc. We're going to jump into the last two sections. I'm going to welcome Patty once more from IEE.
Hello, everybody.
So we're gonna now jump into the last half uh, um, of this session. So on the intern and training program, Paddy, participants based on the Department of State guidelines of the program and the how the program is structured, participants are able to bring a dependent on the program with them on a J2 visa, right? I'm not sure if you're able to give a little bit more insight on that, the process, or how does it work with IEE?
Okay, so yes, the regulations do allow for a J2 participant to come with you. You would be the J1. The J2 would be, like you said, an immediate dependent. It would be a child, a husband, not necessarily a sister, brother, anything like that. It's really just a husband and a child situation. I will tell you that, remember, if you were with us earlier, we talked about your intentions of coming back to Jamaica after your program. This is a very specific program. You're coming here to train, to learn as much as you can, to go back to Jamaica and show that you've enhanced your skills and learned a little bit about the culture of the United States. Where the regulations allow for it, typically the ages that remember to on this program are 18 to 34. So bringing your dependents over to the United States with you sometimes will raise the eyebrows at the consulate. Just from the standpoint that they're saying, okay, you're bringing your whole family with you. Why would you come back if you've got everybody over in the United States? If they know that you do have a small child back at home, that is something that they would look at and say, they've got a small child back at home, they're going back to Jamaica to be back with their family. If you bring in your whole family with you over here, they're thinking that there might not be a reason for you to go back to Jamaica. So it is allowed. If you do have a J2 that comes with you, they go for the exact through application process as you would go to. Yeah, their visa is tied to your visa. So if your visa gets revoked, their visa gets revoked, from that standpoint. So we don't encourage it just from that standpoint that we know that the embassy will look at that as an opportunity for maybe you not to return back to Jamaica. But it is something that can happen under very certain circumstances. We typically try to discourage that. But it is something that is allowed. And if it's a situation that you're not going to participate on this program unless it happens, we can certainly talk to you about that and give you more information about what could happen at the embassy and or what that would look like once you're in the United States as well.
Awesome. So even though it is allowed on the program, you are able to bring a dependent. It's not wise for you to travel with all your ties to the US because your immediate family, your spouse, those are your ties to your home country. And if you're going to go on the program with that tie, it will again raise a red flag that you're traveling with somebody who we may expect you to return to, So it's a spouse, of course, that's an obligation. You're either married or, in a common law relationship. So you go on a program and you have to return to that union, then if you travel with that spouse, it might alarm the embassy that you may have intention to stay in the US with the spouse, So it is allowed, but at ISAT, we personally discourage that personally. Again, at ISAT and also at IEE, they mentioned, we are going to give you all the probabilities that if this should happen, this may happen. So if it's a must for you to do that, then we'll outline all, possible scenarios that you might encounter while you're in the process at embassy, etc. Right? So
something else to remember too, if I can jump in real quick too, is when we talk about housing being available from the employers that you would be coming to, is the housing that they would have available for the participants is just that, for the participants. And so if you would be coming over with a J2 or a spouse or a child, then your housing is not going to be provided for you, because the housing that the host organizations do provide is strictly for their associates and participants on this program, and not their J2s as well. So that would also be something to take into consideration, because you would be on your own to find your own housing from that standpoint here as well.
Interesting. All right, so that's very important also, and I think someone here is asking in the comment section, Paddy, about if you're being filed for. So if somebody is like petitioning for you to for PR in the US, so if you're in that process, is it that you can still apply for the program?
You can, but if it depends on how far your petition is, and I'm not an immigration attorney, so I don't want to really talk too much about something that I would not be 100% knowledgeable of. But I do know that depends on how far you are in your petition, whether you can change. You obviously can't apply for two different visa types at the same time. So I think that if you get to that point and you're going to have to make a decision at that point of which way you want to go, because once you're J1 visa gets approved and you're maybe going for an H2B and you haven't gotten that petition done yet, then you've got your J1 and that's already done. Then you're not going to be able to swap back and forth between your H2B and your J1 petition.
Mhm. Awesome. And as I mentioned before, guys, the program is an ongoing process, so you can pretty much depart at any time during the year. So it's not a one-off thing or only summer thing. It's not only for summer you can participate for. It's more of an ongoing process. So for persons who are trying to see if it's closed or if it's still open, it's an ongoing process. So you can always contact our office for further guideline. Then the next thing, Patty, is emergency. So when persons arrive in the US, in the event of any emergency situation, um, based on what we know is that the first point of contact would be the sponsor while they're in the US. But of course, in severe circumstances, um, it's always best to contact the local law enforcement, right? In severe circumstances.
Yeah, if you're in a situation where certainly your health, safety, or welfare is in jeopardy, then you would want to call the local authorities first. If you're in an accident here, obviously you're going to need to get in touch with get yourself to a hospital or something like that. You do have insurance while you're on this program that will cover catastrophe situations like that. But anything that will affect your health or safety in an emergency situation, you certainly want to call law enforcement first. But we would also want to be on that first call list as well, because we want to be there to help you and help direct you into the right place. We do have a emergency hotline at our office. So if it's after hours and you do have a true emergency while you're here, you will have access to that telephone number that you can call us directly if you need help with anything. We do call emergencies. So in the middle of the night, if you decide you don't like the way your training plan is going, that's not an emergency. So don't call our emergency toll line for that. We want to hear from you and make sure that we can help you in real emergency situations. So yes, as your visa sponsor, we will always be there for you to help you if you have a situation that is deemed an emergency, and we will be there for you to help you no matter what time of day it is.
Awesome. All right, so I have one question here. Does a recent visa denial affect your application? I think we mentioned it, somewhat answered this question before, that everybody's situation is different, and the assessment is done as per your class visa. If you're applying for B1, B2 visa, that's one assessment, or a different assessment from a J1 visa, right? So if it means that you did not meet the requirements, or the embassy thinks that you are not at this point qualified for a B1, B2 visa or a regular visitors visa, it doesn't mean that you're also not qualified for a J1 visa, because it's two different visas and there are two different requirements or eligibilities for the visa. I mean, all visas, if it's non-immigrant visa, they want to ensure that you have intentions to return to your home country, because of course you have a temporary status in the US, not a permanent one. So of course the assessment is different per visa class, but for non-immigrant visas, the primary concern is that if you're going to return after you're welcome. All right. I think I've answered most, because most questions based on reviewing is that they're the same, and I've answered some already. Um, so we have spoke about emergency details and J2 visas, tax filing, earnings of the program. We spoke about tipping and the culture of that with Susan, and we spoke about changing employers and the terms and conditions, etc., and the importance of submitting documents in a timely manner, how important that is. And we spoke pretty much of the process of the program. And Susan, I know, touched on the different types of employers, what to expect, the work environment in the US for interns and trainees, etc. So, guys, again, if you have any further questions, you can drop them in the comment section, or you can always give us a call in our office for more details. All right. I think I'm not sure if Miss Crooks, if you have anything to add to the entire process.
Oh, as it relates to resume, because I see a lot of
Oh, Miss
questions.
Crooks.
Is everyone hearing me? Yes?
Yes,
Oh,
we can.
okay. As it relates to your resume, I see a lot of questions as it relates to resume. Um, I will um, I will add the email address that you should send your resume to in the chat in a second. If it is that I have not responded to your email just yet, it's because we have a lot of resumes going through. So I'll get to it in a minute. Of course, if it is that I responded to your email by saying that you need to put the period of employment, it's because it's not attached to the resume. And like Patty said, we need to see the period of employment or when it is that you have completed your degree. Those information or details, they're very important because that's the only way we can know if you're qualified for the program. All right. So again, I will put the email address in the chat so that you can send your resume and then we can assess if you're qualified for the program. That's it.
Awesome. And Susan, would you like to add something to the entire intern and trainee process? Because we've discussed quite a lot of stuff here. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I hope you guys learned a lot on the call today, and we're always here to answer questions and help people through the process with any additional questions that might come up.
Mhm.
Awesome. And Patty, anything else to add? By
Well, I just,
extension,
yeah, no, I just think it's a very exciting program. I hope everybody will take the information that we've shared with you today and really think about what opportunities you have and how exciting it would be to come over to the United States and experience this type of program and meet lots of different people and share your experiences when you get back home to everybody else. Obviously, if you're on this presentation today, you've got a keen interest in these opportunities, and you certainly come to the right place with your agency there in Jamaica. We very much like working with them. They follow the rules just like we try to follow the rules, and we encourage you all to follow the rules so everybody has a great program. But you won't be making a mistake if you join this visa program. It's really a life-changing event.
Mhm.
Nice. So, guys, as you heard it from Paddy, Susan, Verlene, and myself, again, guys, there's so much, more to share, but I think we have done a lot in terms of kind of um, creating like a summary of everything that you'll experience in the US. Um, Many persons know that the US is a melting pot, different cultures that are there. Some cultures that aren't present in Jamaica, you might find it in the US, from different countries, etc. The interaction, the learning component, etc. It's very important, and you get to build your resume. You get to internationalize your resume, and of course, if I'm employing somebody in the industry and you bring your resume and you realize, oh, you have big, quite a good experience in the US, at a top hotel, a very known, reputable organization. That will kind of, allow me to have a wow moment, with your resume, and you will have an edge over other candidates, So again, guys, we're here to guide you throughout the entire process and to provide all the information. I know you guys research by yourself, and you're now having this discussion with us, and we're looking for more discussions, to come and to help you to make a decision if you want to go on the program or not, or if it's suitable for you. Again, guys, thanks for joining us. I think this brings us to the end of the webinar, and I want to thank Patty and Susan for coming along with us this morning. I know they're an hour ahead. It's almost, I think, in the afternoon for you guys.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having us. We really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, definitely. All right, and thanks so much, Ms. Crooks, for joining us this morning. Guys, have a wonderful day, and call us if you need any further assistance or support with the entire process. We're happy and more than welcoming for you to come and for us to support you in your endeavor. All right, bye, guys.
The Hospitality and Culinary Program falls under the Department of State J1 Exchange Business Visa Programs, specifically under the Intern and Trainee category. The basic requirements for the program are to be at least 18 years of age and have 5 or more years of experience in the industry. And if you have a post-secondary certificate, you just need 1 year of experience. Also, if you have just finished your post-secondary studies, like less than 12 months ago, you are eligible to apply for the program. When you participate in this program, you get the opportunity to travel and experience the United States culture while expanding your knowledge about the hospitality and culinary industry. To participate in this program, you must have a designated visa sponsor that will provide the necessary documents to obtain your J1 visa. At ISIS Jamaica, we have partnered with many designated visa sponsors to help you obtain your appropriate visa. We have host companies across the United States, from the big hotel chains and resorts to fine dining restaurants. All positions have very attractive base pay. If you do not want to participate for 18 months, that's fine. You can apply for 6 months. And if you're enjoying your program, you are welcome to extend your time while you're in the United States. In fact, it's cheaper to start with 6 months, then you can extend your time when you have enough savings to do so while in the US. The departure dates for the program is ongoing, therefore you can leave at any time during the year once you have obtained your J1 visa. Are you worried about the process? No problem. At ISIS Jamaica, you pay nothing towards your program fee until you have met with your sponsor and employed to confirm your visa sponsorship or job placement process. We at ISIS Jamaica will guide you through the entire administrative process from Jamaica until you've arrived in the United States. Now, are you ready for the adventure? What are you waiting for? Contact our recruitment team for more info or to get started today.